Hi everyone. I wanted to do a video. This is kind of to my son. Many of you know that my son is very much behind me it, with our YouTube and mental health open discussions, the page and the groups that we have. Um, you want to watch my video on YouTube with my son, it's there. And it was talking about what it was like for my son, you know, living with his dad who suffered from a lot of mental health issues. More importantly was an addiction. I had an addiction to my pain medication. And I didn't dive too much into that and the effects that it had on me trying through that addiction. So I thought today I would do a video. This is for my son, so he knows what it is I was thinking and feeling during that time. So he has not seen this video. He doesn't even really know that I'm doing this. But I figured I might as well just come out and talk about what I was thinking. I injured my back in 2009, and I was put on some really heavy narcotic medication to control the pain. In 2014, my ex-wife and me had split. My son was 16 at the time, and I moved out of the house and was living in different places, constantly moving. During that time, my pain medications became not just for my physical pain, but I used them actually more so for what I was struggling with mentally. I was suffering from severe depression and anxiety. The one thing I was able to do was hide it very well. And actually, it wasn't until recently that I had admitted that to my son. He knew something was wrong. He knew that I wasn't there. He knew, or he just felt that he was losing his dad. He accepted the fact that he didn't figure his dad would be around long enough. The one thing I've never talked about is what I was feeling during that time. I don't have family that I talk to or friends, and I hid this addiction for 8 years from everybody, and including my son. So when I split from my ex-wife, my son would come to see me and spend time with me, but I couldn't do anything. A lot of times I'd be going through withdrawals, or the drug became, it's not that I didn't love my son, but the drug became much more important, and I missed him. There was days that when I first moved out and I had my place and I had a spare room set up for him, and he wanted to spend time with me, but I always had excuses why I couldn't. What he doesn't know is when he left, a lot of times I would lay in his bed and cry. I felt numb. I absolutely felt like I had no control of my life. I had no control of myself. The one thing that I used to always tell him, he has no idea, son, and I used to tell you this, that you had no idea how much you've saved my life. And why I say that, because my son was that one spark that was in the back of my head, and even though I couldn't bring it out and I couldn't change who I was or what I was doing, for him, the pain of the way I felt for abandoning, I don't know if I abandoned him, but I guess realistically deep down it was abandonment, because I was there, I just wasn't present. And this is kind of the first time I'm going to talk a little bit about what I was feeling during my addiction. When he was there, I tended to, I guess, really push him to do something. I didn't want him being bored. But what had happened is I wanted him there, but I didn't. You know, I wanted the drug there. It was more important for me to get high, and because I was feeling a tremendous amount of guilt for what I was doing, because it wasn't me. And I became numb. And the one thing that allowed me to have emotion was my son. I know he would come and I'd kind of push him to go out with his friends or do something, and I missed a good 2 years anyways of after my separation with my ex-wife. I missed about 2 years of him. Even though he came to my house, he was just there and just was in and out. And I would go and lay on his bed, or I'd look at his picture and I'd cry. I'd just absolutely cry, and there was nothing I could do. I couldn't control enough of my emotion to get off it up until a few years ago, as many of you know. And I'm not against, a lot of people need these medications. Unfortunately, with a lot of these medications, they do numb not just the pain of our physical symptoms, but they numb the pain emotionally. And when I say that, we do have feelings, even actively in the addiction, we have feelings. But we are able to block them out. And then in those moments when, let's say I would use up my medications early and I'd start to go with my withdrawals, the anxiety and the pain for everything that I had put my son through and what he didn't know. And I knew that he knew I was dying, and but he thought it was the energy drinks, the smoking. I gave up on life. He knew that I was on medications, but he didn't know the extent of my addiction. I'm going to admit something here. The first time I've admitted it, I think more out of embarrassment than anything. But I need you to know, son, and I need everybody else to know, I was actually crushing my Oxycontin and snorting them. I was not taking them the way that I was supposed to. I was when my injury happened, but once I left, I needed that rush right then, and I was actually crushing and snorting my pills all the time. I would not take them orally. It numbed everything so quick. It's some of the hardest things that I have to admit. The guilt that I'm living with today isn't because of the abuse of my medication. It was that my son feared my death. It was the fear that I could lose my son and my relationship with him. This was the toughest thing probably in my entire life that I had to go through, and this was oncoming over 8 years. And then, like I said, the last 2-3 years of my separation from my ex-wife, I heavily got into them, and they were no longer for my back pain. They were for my mental, and I couldn't deal with it. I've said something about my son, which he needs to know, is that it's no longer, I've found my happiness. The high that I get from life now and what I do with the YouTube and our groups and our page and working in mental health is a high that I never thought that I could feel without being under the assistance of some sort of narcotic. But I was lying to myself. I was kidding everybody. I have never talked about this openly. But it became my drug of choice. It's not my doctor's fault. I did it. I abused the drugs. A lot of us say, well, it's the doctors, they prescribed it. And that is true. That is true. But it was my choice. I chose to numb my pain because of my depression and anxiety of everything. And the one person I hurt, I escaped. A lot of people believe that addiction is a selfish drug, and I agree, it is a selfish drug. Because I can hide the pain, but the people I'm hurting, I can't. They can't, right? However, I didn't want to do the drugs. I didn't want to feel that way. I didn't want to have to worry about how much medication I have left. How much am I going to crush? And it's hard. It's hard. It is selfish and it isn't. This is what we call self-medicating. And this is why I'm so strong at this. And the only way that I can get out and have the support of my son, because me and him are so close now and we're doing this together, is to be brutally honest about it and express why I did what I did. My biggest hurt in life, guys, and my son, is what I did to him, is hurt him. But if you guys have watched my other video, you'll see that for him, there wasn't a long life, you know, of animosity towards me. You know, I was able to be honest with him, and I think that that was the best thing, is that I was honest with him. And now we've created something special here, a bond. But this was a message, basically, this video, to my son, to let him know how deep I had gotten. I was prescribed about 90 milligrams a day of Oxycontin. I was doing twice that. I was doing about 180 grams. I would crush up to 5 pills at a time and put them up my nose. It's extremely embarrassing. It was a choice I made to do it because I didn't want to seek help. I was embarrassed. I was proud, and to admit that I was doing that, would have made me feel like a coward. I thought I would lose the one thing in my life I had, which was my son, if he knew. And it's only been the last 2 years now that I've been clean, and now doing what I went back to school and working in mental health and doing this, that I've realized I can't hide it anymore, right? The best way for me to move forward is come clean with what I've done and accept the responsibility for what I've done, accept my consequences, and move forward. And that's what I'm trying to get through here. You guys are not alone, and I'm going to be here for you. My son is right on board with me, but this is just a message I really had to get out to him as we did that one video, and he only knew sorts of it. But the biggest guilt I had is that he thought I was going to die, and he gave up. I was distant from him, and it's been something that's been eating me the last 6 years. And last night I was laying there and I was just thinking over and over and over again, you know, do I just be honest? People know that I had an addiction problem, but to what extent? And was I actually feeling any emotion during that time? Was I feeling bad for what I was doing? Was I feeling guilty for what I was doing? Yes, I was, absolutely, but I couldn't express it, and I did it alone. I would pace back and forth in my place, in tears, looking around, and I did it alone. We can't do this alone anymore, people. I know it's easier said than done. I'm going to throw it out there, and I'll put my neck out in the line. If there's judgment, I will face that. Those are my consequences, and I'm okay with that. But you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to talk. If you need help, don't be afraid, because I was amazed when I came out with what I was doing. The support I had from my son was unlike anything. So, son, I love you from the bottom of my heart. I hope this can clear the space, and we move forward. Every day I think of you. Every day. And the only way I think I'm going to be able to get past my own guilt and my own selfishness with that is to be open and move on. You stated that on our video we did. You said to me, you know, we just have to move on. And you're right. You're 20 years old. You're much more mature than I was, and I'm 42. And for you to see that and accept that, that's what love is about. That's what support is about. And I love you, son. I love all of you. Thank you for watching our videos. You know, we just want to get this across to people, and we want to just get people to be able to talk. It's so, so, so important, because that guilt will lead you more into your addictions. Those guilts will you'll never see that light, and you have to get past it. And I'm speaking from experience and my love for my son. So much love, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.